Hey witches, welcome to Busy, Gritty, Inked and Witchy, a magical living podcast for the busy witch. I'm Morgan, eclectic witch of almost 25 years, Avalon priestess, and busy witch. Here we'll talk all things witchy, from current metaphysical happenings to my busy witch tips and tricks, and everything in the in-between. This podcast is my personal journey, filled with my knowledge, opinions, and unique way of looking at the world. Join me as I weave the magical and the mundane in every episode. Hey witches, welcome back to Busy, Gritty, Inked and Witchy. I'm Morgan, and today we are having some fun. The last few episodes have been pretty deep, pretty transformational, all about spiritual growth of my journey. And today I want to sit back and just have fun. If you have ever felt completely drained after interacting with someone, being around someone, talking with someone, like they sucked the life force out of you, okay? No, they are not just annoying. They could be a psychic vampire. And that's what I'm going to talk about today. This subject has been coming up a lot for me. In fact, we even taught the new guy here at work all about psychic vampires a couple of weeks ago. He did not know that they were a thing. So that's what I'm going to talk about today. Energetic feeders, also called psychic vampires, energy vampires. And I'm going to talk about what they are, the different types of psychic vampires, how to protect yourself, and where in your life you can turn yourself into a psychic vampire and have it actually benefit you, which is probably not talked about on podcasts or by witchy people, but I have found a loophole. Yeah. All right, so let's do it. Okay, psychic vampire, energy feeder, psychic feeder. They're called all of these things, but generally they boil down to psychic vampire, okay? It is not an actual vampire that is going to like suck your blood and drain your blood from you, okay? Psychic vampires or energy vampires consciously or unconsciously feed off of the energy of other people. And yes, consciously or unconsciously. And I will dive down into that today. This can be your emotional, spiritual, psychic energy, all of that. Okay. When you come into contact with a psychic vampire and they have fed on you, you come away from an interaction with that person. And mind you, these are humans, okay? These can be family members. These can be friends. These can be your coworkers, okay? These are not some cloaked individuals that only come out at night. They can be anyone, okay? When you walk away from having an interaction with a psychic vampire, you are left exhausted or irritable or foggy, just like overall fatigued, feeling like you're drained of energy. You can even feel anxious. It just depends on the type of psychic vampire that they are. And conscious psychic vampires know what they're doing, okay? They intentionally act in a certain way to get you to react in a certain way, so that they can then feed off of that energy and boost themselves up, okay? Psychic vampires can also be conscious psychic vampires, can also be high energy or low energy, okay? So they can be the type that want to bring you down so that like their energy is low and they want to siphon off your energy to bring you down to their level. Or they can be high energy, super talkative, super high energy. And when you're kind of like done talking, you're like, oh my gosh, I feel like I need a nap after being around that person, because they need to feed off of your energy in order to maintain their high energy status. Okay. And one thing just before I get into unconscious, which is the majority of people that you're probably going to come into contact with are unconscious psychic vampires. Okay. But one thing to point out here is we are talking about people who, when you have an interaction with them, you walk away feeling worse than before, okay? I am not talking about people who are naturally high energy, but like when you come into interaction with them, they raise you up. That is not a psychic vampire, okay? A psychic vampire is someone that is feeding off of your energy. So when you walk away, when you get done talking to them, when you hang up the phone, when you leave work for the day, you are like, oh my God, I am physically exhausted. I cannot do this. Like, what the hell has happened to me? It feels like someone just sucked the life out of me. Okay. All right. So a lot of them are conscious. They do this, they incite these, and we'll talk about I'll just throw it out there now. We're going to get to the different types of, I'm going to get to 5 main types of psychic vampires. But like internet trolls are conscious psychic vampires. Okay. They're sitting on the other end of their keyboard, typing away shit that they know will incite you, that it will elicit some kind of response from you emotionally, and that feeds them. And then they grow stronger, and then they go to more boards, and, boards or threads or forums or whatever, and type their bullshit out. They know what they're doing. Okay. So those are conscious psychic vampires. Unconscious, which is what you're going to probably come into contact with now. They don't know that they're doing it. They don't know that they're sucking the ever-loving life out of you. Usually because they themselves are just depleted of energy. So what they're trying to do essentially, and they don't know that they're doing it, is they're just trying to stay alive. So they're sucking as much energy and life out of the room as possible just to keep themselves alive. So this is when they don't really know what they're doing. Okay. All right. So that is a psychic vampire or energy vampire. And we talked about consciously or unconscious versions. Okay. So now when you take, and let me tell you, I was able in like all of my research for this episode, I came across basically about 10 types of psychic vampires. But you can take the 10 types of psychic vampires and you can kind of narrow them down into 5 main types or 5 very common types. But some of the smaller ones will fall together under bigger categories. Okay. So I'm going to go over the 5 main types. I've tried to name them something a little bit fun so that you can like remember it. Because once I go over the 5 different types, then we're going to go into how to protect. And the first thing about protecting yourself against a psychic vampire is knowing that you're dealing with a psychic vampire, because you want to try and protect yourself while you're having the interaction rather than having all of the life sucked from you. And then you move on and then you have to cleanse and protect and try and raise your vibe again. Okay. So, you want to identify, so that you know how to protect. Okay. So let's get to it. 5 main types. The first one I call the needy Nancy. Could also be the Debbie Downer. Yeah. So this person trauma dumps all the time, all day long. Oh my God, trauma dump. They tell you all of their problems, which, side note, they're never their fault. Never. It's always someone else's fault. Always. And I do believe I can say always here. Okay. Usually is something is always wrong with them, whether it's their knees from the rain or their gout is acting up. I don't even know what gout is, but you always see that in movies. The old people are always talking about their gout acting up. I'm gonna have to Google that. Anyway, and this is not even, I know I said old people in movies are always talking about gout. This is not like your 75-year-old grandparent who, just wants to sit around and that's really all they have to talk about. I mean, they could be a psychic vampire. They could just be old and that's the stage of their life that they're at. Anyway, but the needy Nancy or the Debbie Downer, trauma dumpers, they tell you all of their problems. Have you ever met someone, have you literally ever been standing in line at the grocery store or something, and this happens a lot with empaths, and then someone starts talking to you and they fucking tell you their life story, but in it it's just like, oh, when I was 5, I was hit by a car, and then when I was 10, my parents accidentally left me at the zoo for 24 hours. Like, you're like, what the hell? I just met you. Okay. That's who we're talking about here. Or if you have that friend, and I've mentioned in the past, like the Eeyore cloud people that just always seem to have an Eeyore cloud around them and something is always wrong with them, and generally it's never their fault. That's what you're looking at here. Okay. This is probably the most common. This is the one where usually people have, well, it's because people come into contact with others, generally speaking, on a higher rate at work. So there's always like, I don't know if you all remember Office Space. There was the boss that was like, yeah, I'm going to need you to come in on Saturday. And like the guy was always getting yelled at about like was it TPS reports or whatever in Office Space? All those people were fucking psychic vampires. But the minute like the person walks up to you at work, at a family reunion, at a extracurricular club that you're a part of, or like a support group or something, and then they're just like just trauma dumping on you, and then you come away with a headache. You can come away with a headache sometimes, just completely depleted. That's a needy Nancy or a Debbie Downer. Okay. Second one, the drama drainer. Yeah. So these are the people that are they're probably conscious, psychic vampires. Okay. They thrive on chaos. They cause chaos. They set shit on fire so that they can eat the flames. Okay. These are the people that are going to incite anger, fear. They're going to gossip. These are your internet trolls. Okay. So your drama drainer just thrives on chaos. They love stirring shit up. They love talking shit. They love bringing people into this tornado that is their life. And then they take a step back and they watch the people fucking get angry, get drained, get anxious, get fearful. And then they just suck it all up. They're like, yes, look at what I did. Okay. Those are your drama drainers. Then you have what I like to call the one-upper. Oh yeah, the one-upper. You broke your arm when you were a kid. They broke their back. You won $100 on a scratch ticket. They once won 1,000. They always will one-up you. And it doesn't matter if it is something horrible or something amazing. They have a story that is better than yours. And what this is basically a narcissist. And this is a person who just always wants the attention on them. So you could be in a group conversation with them and people are just sharing. And these are not like heartfelt shares, and this is not, of course, if you're part of like a support group and you all are all supporting one another and you're all sharing equally. But even in support groups, I've been in support groups before. You always have that one person that almost interrupts too. So like everyone is sharing and everyone is supposed to be sharing one-on-one. And then they're like, oh, I know exactly how you feel. Oh my God, when I was 12. And then they tell a story that just blew yours out of the water, and then they're like, okay, I told my story. And then the next person goes and then they're like, oh my God, girl, I completely know what you're talking about. So my brother's best friend's cousin's sister's hairdresser went through the same thing. And they just always have something to one up you. Okay. They want to be the center of attention. Everything's about them. I think they're the most annoying sometimes. Oh my God. You just want to look at them and say, shut the fuck up. All right. Then you have what I call the favor flavor of psychic vampire. So these are the people that are always asking things of you and then they're never reciprocating at all. So they need a ride. They need to borrow $5. They need you to read their tarot cards. They need some advice on life. They need you to babysit their kids. They need you to buy just just some bread and eggs at the grocery store. It's fine. They'll pay you back. And they never fucking pay you back. They never get back to you. They never read your tarot cards. They never even listen for you to talk or like lend advice to you. They're always asking for favors. They're always take, never giving back. Okay. So that's what I call the favor flavors. I really like that one. And then the last one is what I call the silent assassin. Okay. Because just being in their presence, you just go downhill. They can just sit there and you just start to feel uncomfortable or really tired or drained. And you're just like, maybe even a little crazy. You're like, what is going on here? And this is very common, okay? As a pagan person who has participated in group pagan rituals that were open to the public or open to a large group of pagans, you will always, I would like to say always here, you will always have one of these at a group ritual. If it's open to the public, not if you're like in a coven and you and your coven, you know all of your coven mates, you know. I'm talking about you find on Meetup or Facebook events or whatever, like a summer solstice ritual in the park. And you're like, oh, that sounds really cool. Protect the fuck out of yourself, because there will be a silent assassin there. And that will be a person who is going to just sit and absorb energy from other people. This is definitely a conscious one. I can't, at least in my personal history or interaction with psychic vampires, I can't personally think of a person that was a psychic vampire, like an unconscious psychic vampire that could just sit next to me and drain me. They're generally the conscious ones, okay? And I personally can say that at every group ritual I've ever attended, there has always been one. And they're always, for me, my experience, they're always pagan dudes. I'm so sorry for the pagan male listeners I have. But as a whole, like, men who are pagan are weird. Not even witches. Like if you kind of hone it down into like, oh, I'm a witch, it clears up some of that weirdness. But it's like just the men who are like, I'm pagan. And you're like, okay, but what are your beliefs? Like, I'm pagan. Okay, but do you have a certain pantheon? I'm pagan. And you're like, oh, got you. Okay. They're the ones, in my experience, they're the ones that just sit there. So while everyone is in this group ritual and you're raising energy, they're just sucking it all. And you can actually leave a ritual with lower energy than when you came into it, because there's someone there that's just consciously sucking the life out of you as the ritual goes on. I had one time, just small side note, it was here in Tucson. It was the Yule ritual, I think. I think it was a Yule ritual. And so it doesn't get too cold here, but he came dressed head to toe, black cloak. Okay. Mind you, it was probably 60 degrees that night. So not like hugely freezing, you know, but he came dressed like a Jedi. I'm not even joking. Like his cloak was not even, it was weird. It had a belt like a Jedi robe, but then it had, anyway. And he put it to where it hung and to where all you could see were just his eyes, like right here. And we were all at one point supposed to have our eyes closed because somebody was doing like calling in the quarters and the blessings. And they were like, okay, everyone close your eyes, focus on the element, and let's raise energy for that element as the circle was cast. And I sat there and I was just like, my wards went off because I'm not dumb. I'm going to protect myself before I go to a group ritual. And like my spidey senses go off and I open my eyes and that motherfucker is just staring at me and my friends. And like, I could see it from him. He was just like, if he could have had a straw, just like sucking the life force out of all of us, that's what he was essentially doing. And it was gross. And so I was, like, hey, I think my daughter went with me to that one that night. So I was nudging my friends and everything. And I was like, look at the weirdo. We got a fucking psychic vampire across the circle. And they were like, ah, fuck. So my friend's like consciously putting up wards. Like she literally, cause she gave no shits. She was like, psh, like right in front of him, just like staring at him, putting up an invisible wall. Anyway, silent assassins. You generally don't, unless you set up a ward first to alert you when a psychic vampire is, in your presence. Generally, they'll feed off of you for a second before you're like, what the hell? Oh, fucking silent assassin, motherfucker. All right. So overall, keep in mind, like I said, there are 10 different types that can be grouped into the 5 main types that I just went over. But overall, you're looking for a person who just exudes a lot of negativity or drama, or has a victim mentality, has a lot of criticism and blame. They're always pointing the fingers. They're never taking, even if they did something wrong, it's never their fault. A lack of boundaries. So if you've continuously asked someone to respect your boundaries and they don't, psychic vampire. And then someone who's narcissistic or completely self-centered, never, ever, ever asks you if you need help, never gives you anything, always takes, never reciprocates. Okay. So there's your types. Let's move on to protection. Okay, so the first thing is, and this is why it's so important to know which type you're dealing with, because there might be different ways you can protect yourself against them, okay? But the first step is recognizing that hopefully, like while you're in the process of being fed on energetically by a psychic vampire, you recognize it and you shut it off, okay? So this is, you just stop engaging with the person. If a psychic vampire or an energy vampire can't feed anymore on you, that they're starving because you have blocked them and you have cut off your give a fuck to them, then they will move on to someone else, okay? They will not sit there and try to feed off of you because they'll die. So if you can recognize that you are being fed on by a psychic vampire, and immediately, we're witches here, we're magical people, you can put up a ward, you can immediately do an energetic cord cutting between the two of you. You can be like, oh, nope, I see that cord of energy that you're feeding off of, and I fucking get rid of it. Or there's other little things I'm going to show you here in a second. But if you consciously cut that line, they'll stop feeding on you and they will move on. Okay. They're not going to sit there and beat their head against the wall. Okay. They're going to move on to somebody who will freely give them the energy and fight with them or argue with them or just allow them to drain the shit out of them. Okay. Number two, I do recommend setting up energetic boundaries. This can be visualizing a protective shield around you. If you are in the middle of being fed on by a psychic vampire and you can recognize that, I suggest, just because it's a little fun, to take your energetic shield that you have created around you and coat the outside in mirrors while you're talking to them, because it is funny as shit when it happens. You see them, you're like, and you just really quickly, you visualize your outer shield being mirrors, and you'll see them like, they're like, no, and they'll just pause for a second, and then they'll start to, they're like, oh, I forgot where I was in the story. No, I must have forgot. I got to go to the bathroom. My bad. And then they wander off. Or I'm going to go talk to so-and-so, see you later. And then they wander off and you're like, oh my God, that was instant. If you turn the outside of your shield into mirrors, it's almost instant. It's beautiful. And yeah, so that reflects their energy back at them. They get the hint, they move on. Okay. But honestly, as witches, y'all should be protecting yourselves every day before you leave the house anyway. Just like a little, whatever your visualization, your shield process is. Yeah, you should be doing that anyway. But just amp it up when you're around psychic vampires or someone, especially if you know someone like a coworker, a family member, a friend is a psychic vampire, you can like enforce it before you come into contact with them. The third one, and these are magical helpers. So the third group is magical helpers. So you can do protective gems like black tourmaline. That's my favorite. It's perfect for empaths too. Which is why, so empaths are generally, they can feel other people's emotions or they can sense other people's emotions. And while you do not have to be an empath to recognize when you are being fed on by a psychic vampire or to even come into contact with psychic vampires. Everyone listening right now has come into contact with a psychic vampire at one point in their life or another. Okay. And if you're sitting there really seriously, like, I don't know if I have, either you've never left your house or you might want to wonder if you are the psychic vampire. Sorry to say that, but you could be the psychic vampire. Anyway. Black tourmaline works beautifully. That's my go-to for protection. Just general for empath protection, but it works really well against psychic vampires as well. So does obsidian, smoky quartz, anything that you use for protection, you can use against psychic vampires as well. Symbols, so a pentacle, a protective rune if you work with runes, or you can create your own symbol or sigil to specifically protect you against psychic vampires. And then you can draw it on you every day with body oil. You can draw it in your makeup, chapstick, lipstick, lotion, rub it in. Any of that works. Herbs for psychic protection would be vervain and hawthorn are actually specifically listed as energetic vampire herbs, psychic vampire herbs. It's weird. And I know if you're thinking, well, what about garlic? I mean, you might as well give it a try, but it might just make everyone not want to be around you. So it depends on how much garlic you eat. I tend to get the roasted garlic from like the olive bar at like grocery stores. And my husband will not, he hates it when I sit there and just eat raw garlic, either roasted garlic or the garlic and oil. If I start to feel like I'm getting sick, I hit up one of those very quickly and I will eat garlic for 2 to 3 days straight. And he won't even kiss me. It's funny. Mugwort, rosemary, sage. I personally like devil's claw root for protection against psychic vampires because it does have that, especially if it's a psychic vampire that knows, if it's a conscious one, they know they're a psychic vampire. Okay. And then black salt, very good against psychic vampires. And then Florida water is actually pretty good too. And that's just, I've realized that because we have that everyday magic mist in the shop that is our version of Florida water. And we had quite a few bottles left over after we shipped them out in our subscription box last year. And so we all took 2 to 3 bottles. And I'll hit that up before I go like antiquing. But I've realized that it works very well against psychic vampires. And then the fourth thing that you can do, and this is after your encounter, or if you are in the middle of being fed on by a psychic vampire and you can visualize that energetic cord, then you can cut it then. Otherwise, wait till you get home and then do a cord cutting to sever that connection between you and the psychic vampire. Because the conscious ones especially, they will develop that energetic cord so that they can sit at home and just feed off of you like a fucking buffet. Okay, so you definitely want to cut that energetic cord either while you're being fed on or definitely once you get home. Do one in the shower or whatever, okay? So those are the best ways I have, my personal recommendations for protection. And the last part of this episode today is, can becoming a psychic vampire in certain situations be useful? This is my own little crazy belief. It was born after I was very frustrated with some interactions on social media that I had had with some people. And my business coach, I had a certain, this was a while ago, you all. So I had some certain interactions on social media with some trolls. And then for whatever reason, like the trolls came out, and I've come to realize that for whatever reason, I think it's like a collective consciousness between trolls. It's like they decide to all attack at the same time. I don't know. There's like an underground troll meeting online. Anyway, they tend to come in spurts, and then I'll go 3, 4, 5 months without ever having a shit comment. And then all of a sudden for 1 month, I'll get like one a day. And I was very frustrated, but for whatever reason, it was like this person, it was like, oh, delete and block, delete and block, delete and block. It's fine. And then this one person, I was like, oh, fuck no. And so I created a Reels again, describing them. Or no, for that one, that was before I was doing the Reels. I did not actually start doing like clapback Reels until within the last 2 months. So this would have been, I chose to interact. I chose to engage with her. And every time she commented, I was like, every time you comment, the algorithm thinks you love me. And she was like, oh my God, how dare you insinuate that I'm a lesbian? And I'm like, oh, you're loving me even more. And I just kept, because for that one, she had commented on one of my, Instagram posts, saying that not all witches can cast magic. You have to go to a certain type of witch, and she was a ancestral, whatever, third generation witch, and she cast spells for people, and you can't do magic yourself. But it was the way that she had said it. She said something about she was going to report me to Instagram for like false information or something. I don't remember, but it was the way she said it that for whatever reason lit a fire under me that day, and I decided to have fun. Okay. So I say that you 100% can't. Oh, anyway, where I was going with this was I was talking about this, and my business coach at the time was like, girl, you feed off of some of them. And I was like, what? She goes, you're kind of like a psychic vampire when it comes to some trolls. And she's like, but it's like you take the shit that they're handing you and it fuels you to do something else with it. And I'm like, all right, I'll take it. That's when this idea was born within me that it's not, she called it a psychic vampire, and I was like, I'll take it, because that's with some of these troll comments, 100%, that's exactly what I do. But it's the same type of energy, but basically what you're doing when you take that and you turn it into something else is you're performing spiritual alchemy, okay? So this is why I say that yes, you can take the shit that's being given out by energetic vampires, and you can take it, harness it, transmute it into something that you either deal back to them or you use for empowerment. Okay. But hear me out fully on this one. There are a few guidelines. Okay. Tips I would give you if you want to do this. Okay. Number one, do it consciously. You have got to do it consciously. You have got to have control over the process. Okay. If an internet troll, and for this whole idea was based on dealing with internet trolls. Okay. So if they come at you and you just immediately clap back, you're being reactive. You're not being proactive. Okay. You are not doing it consciously. It is a reaction. So you have got to slow down and take the time to have them come at you, analyze what they're coming at you with, and then turn it into something else. Okay. So it has to be done consciously. It cannot be a reaction. Okay. Number two, you have to have some kind of container for transmuting this energy. And that can be art. This is how you can use anger. You can use, bad things that happen in your life and make beautiful art with them. Or if you're a songwriter, make beautiful songs with them. Or, turning horrible things into beautiful stories. I think it's along the same vein. That is more spiritual alchemy rather than psychic vampirism. But when it comes to internet trolls, you have to have some kind of outlet, some kind of vessel that you're going to be transmuting this energy with. Okay. So you can do it in a blog post. Let's say if you're going to keep it on the internet, a social media post, you can create a reels about it. You can create a clapback reels. You can create a post, but a media rant, but make sure it's eloquent, because if you're eloquent, it's way better. It doesn't seem like you're being reactive. A spell. So you can definitely take that anger, that emotion. You can take all that shit that they've been shoving at you and do a mirror box spell, put a bitch in a jar spell. You fuel it, use it as fuel. But you have to use it for empowerment, not just to bitch. Okay. And you don't need to store it. Don't ever just sit there and take it and store it, because then, that can eat away at you. That can decay your words in the future. And it can fester and explode. Okay. So the key here is that you are taking the shit and you're using it as fuel for empowerment. Okay. You're not just being catty. You're not just being a bitch back. You're not just being, whatever, you know what I mean? You're doing it for something good. Otherwise you're just a psychic, or you're just a troll yourself, honestly. And then number three, cut the cord afterwards so that there's no energetic back and forth. Okay. So the person dished out some shit to you. You took it as fuel. You created a piece of social media content. You pushed it out, and then that's it. You are done with it. You did what you needed to do. You cut that cord between you and the person. If they message you, you give them no mind. You do not, open up that energetic pathway anymore and allow them to feed off of you anymore. Okay. So that's what I do. If you have been following me recently on, unfortunately, TikTok or YouTube, you will have seen a clapback video that this is what I did with it. I had a troll and a psychic vampire and turned it into something pretty amazing. It would be posted on Instagram, but I don't have 3-minute reels on my account. So I haven't been upgraded to 3-minute reels. So I spent 10 minutes shooting a video, 2 hour and a half editing it down to 3 minutes, and couldn't post it on Instagram. So that was fun. So I was able to post it on TikTok. Anyway, but that's what I have for you all today. That's my little spiel on psychic vampires, who they are, what they are, how to identify them, how to protect yourself, and then in rare cases, how to become a psychic vampire yourself for the purpose of empowerment, of using shit as fuel for empowerment or to do something better. Okay. The Patreon bonus this week is actually 2 bonuses. It depends on which tier you're in. If you're in the Magical Manuscripts tier, you're going to get 2 bonuses. Because what I'm doing for this week's bonus, I have an empath protection guided meditation that I recorded for my Ink Spirit Coven. It is perfect for this. And what it is perfect for is sitting down before you come into contact with a psychic vampire, and it helps you establish your energetic shield. Okay. So I realized that it is the most perfect MP3 for this subject. So that's what the bottom tier is getting. Okay. So if you are part of my Spellbound Sound on Patreon, you're going to get the MP3. So you don't even have to be a Coven member. I'm going to give you the MP3. It's got sound effects because I get real nerdy with my guided meditations. So that's what the Spellbound Sound is. Then if you're in Magical Manuscripts, I actually did type up the 10 psychic vampire types in a fun little cute Book of Shadows page, and you all will be getting that when this episode airs as well. So there are 2 bonuses this week, but it does depend on which tier you are on to whether you get 2 or you just get 1. My bottom tier, or this is at patreon.com/inkedgoddesscreations. The bottom tier is the Spellbound Sound. That is the podcast tier. It is just $5 a month. And all of the money, it goes to support me as a witchy content creator. So this is my way of being like, thank you for supporting me. You also get a shout out on my podcast. I actually had quite a few this week. And then for whatever reason, they joined and then canceled within the same week. And I don't know how Patreon does it. So I just left them out. I'm sorry. But if you join and then you cancel 3 days later, I'm not going to give you a shout out on the podcast. That's just how that is. I'm sorry. So I have Caroline this week. Thank you, Caroline. Or Carolyn. I'm not sure if I should have elongated like Caroline or I don't know which one, but thank you for being a paid Patreon member. And yeah, so head over to my Patreon to get the bonus content. If you gel with my vibe, you like what you do, or like what you see or hear here, this is how I am in my Ink Spirit Coven. We are in the process of switching over to Circle. So the chat, the lesson archives, everything are on their own little platform. It is beautiful. By the time this episode airs, it should be open for the members to move over. It should. We're going to have to see how the weekend goes. But anyway, you can go to inkedspirit.com and just learn about the Coven, what we do there, what we offer. The landing page will also be updated once I get the Circle fully up and running, the Circle community. I will update the landing page as well. But that's at inkedspirit.com. I want to thank you all for being here, for being a listener. If you could please rate, like, subscribe, share with other witchy people so that they can have fun every week as well. And thank you for being here. I will see you all next week. Bye. If you're looking for a magical community where you can just be yourself, check out my Ink Spirit Coven. The Coven is an online learning circle for eclectic witches who want to learn new witchcraft practices and how to easily incorporate magic into their daily lives, all while being supported on their personal spiritual journey. And you'll have me as your magical mentor, sharing my knowledge, answering questions, and facilitating the online community. Head to inkspirit.com to learn more and join. And if unique witchcraft supplies made by witches for witches is just what you need, head to my store, inkgoddesscreations.com, to see what we have to enhance your magical practice. We also have the Ink Goddess Creations box, a monthly subscription of magic mail filled with exclusive items that fit a magical theme. Head to the site to see this month's theme and sneak peeks.